Welcome to Widener's Weather Wagers. As you can see, we have a special guest here tonight at the Real S Cav. Welcome. It's good to have you.
Thank you. For those of you out there viewing, at the Real S Cav is my Twitter handle where you can find me. Mike asked me to be on this episode. Some people might say I've been known to place a wager here and there. And Mike started this new channel here that I'm excited about. Mike's been texting me for years about all his different weather plays and weather angles and storms coming in, storms going out, middle opportunities you shouldn't have taken. There's just a long history, and I think it's a good idea. There's not a lot of content in this exact space that he operates in. So while me and him are different in terms of how we go about things, he plays pretty much totals mostly, and for the most part, obviously, Mike plays unders due to the weather. I thought I could bring in some perspective too to some of the sides, as well as other options on the games. Sometimes, Mike can give the information, and you can take what you want to do with it. Maybe you like the underdog because of the weather or different, particular things. So I think it'll be a good marriage here in this episode, and we're gonna start with UNLV and Hawaii, and Mike's gonna talk a little bit about that, and also just a little bit about his process in general, and what he looks for on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, no, that's a good introduction. I mean, I've been, if you see my other videos, I just started this past week. I've followed the weather. I've been in, I went to school for meteorology for about a half a year, and I changed, but I've always been interested in the weather, and I've always been interested in sports betting, and just seeing them come together. I've been doing this for a while, and the last few years I've been getting a little more serious with it. The longer range forecasts have been getting a little bit better, especially with wind. That's a little bit easier to forecast out 5 or 6 days. So I'm generally looking at the games, 5 to 6 days ahead. And then that's where if I see something exciting, say 20 mile per hour winds, I'm immediately betting that and getting the best number. So that's what I'm here to share. Whether it be the winds, snowstorm coming, some things are harder to predict than others. That's it in is general, what it is. There's always going to be a little.
And like I said, there's times where you've sent me messages about betting an under, and then you see the forecast is changing, and you go back, you'll play the over, and either give yourself a middle or get yourself out of what you think is a bad potentially. Exactly. So there's a lot of potential here, and it's just Mike's going to start out with doing these videos, and we'll kind of see where it goes and where the interest is.
So just a little update. The first video I did post won last week. Was it Hurricane Nicole?
Yeah.
Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, Atlanta, Carolina. She stayed under. It was close, but we got it done. So the first video was a winner. Had a couple good weeks earlier in the year. We had a strong system in Texas with some wind where a bunch of the games there bet the under early, won. Not this past weekend, the weekend before, we had a strong system coming up the Midwest. The upper Midwest, a lot of the Big Ten games affected. You saw the Ohio State Northwestern game, the Wisconsin, Maryland game, I believe?
No, Wisconsin was against Iowa.
No, I think it was Maryland.
This past weekend?
No, the weekend before.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
I can't remember 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weekends ago. There was strong. So we had a bunch of those games picked out and ended up going 10-2 that week. So I thought it was a good time.
And what's your Twitter handle for this, Mike? What is it again? It's
at undermike626.
Right, and I think that'll be you can, like you said, you were talking about how timely. You look 5 to 6 days in advance. So with this, we have the video. He has this video, but the Twitter handle, you can put stuff in real time out there when you see something. So follow him there. and you can get some real-time information.
Yeah, I plan to keep that updated. The videos are probably, I've started off doing some videos every day, but that's going to be more of like a Monday, Tuesday thing, kind of update from the following week, where we won, where, if we lost, what happened. But Tuesday would be more of like an update for Sunday games. Monday would be an update for Saturday games. It's usually that 6-day area where we can get a good grip on things and get some good numbers. So that's what we're going for. So let's start it off
College
with
football.
the college football. What do we got here? UNLV Hawaii. That's one of my main ones I've been looking at this week. I started out yesterday looking at that. The winds are forecast in the, let's say, 15 to 25 range. If you look at your weather app, it's going to say 18, 19, whatever it may be. Once it gets over 17, that's where I really start to look at things. That's where it really starts to affect throwing the ball, kicking the ball. And I look at the stadium in Hawaii. That's in Honolulu. They have the stadium they've been playing the last couple of years. It looks like a high school stadium.
Yeah,
it's very wide
temporary
open
because they're building something. So they just have it literally holds under 10,000 people.
Yeah.
It's flat. It's wide open.
So it's not like an NFL stadium where the wind still gets in there and it can swirl, but this is wide open. The wind just rolls in. It's going to have an effect on the passing and kicking game. So that was one of my main bets for this week that I'm gonna suggest. Now, we were looking at this last night and it was at 58.5 the over under. It did drop down to 56. I still like it at that number, and I think it may drop a little bit lower than that. As I said, the wind forecast is usually fairly predictable. There is a lot of wind in Hawaii. If you look at their forecast every week, there's going to be wind. That's one I'm going to go with as one of my picks for the week, the under. I mean, do you have anything about the teams themselves?
Yeah, so the spread, the UNLV is a 10.5 point favorite last I saw. UNLV has come into this one covering 3 straight, I believe, and Hawaii's covered 5 out of the last 6. So they both have kind of come in on a positive run here on covering. Hawaii had a really rough start to the year, and I feel like they're starting to figure a little bit out. Both teams, here's the thing, and this is kind of what you're saying. So both teams aren't good at passing to begin with. And you think back in the day, Hawaii used to always
pass. They were known for that. What was
Timmy Chang was the big one. They had a bunch of really good quarterbacks there that could sling the ball. So Hawaii now only averages 4.7 yards per pass play, and I believe UNLV is at 5.4. So neither are great at the pass. My angle on this game is I do think this weather will help Hawaii because Hawaii's pass defense is not good. So even though UNLV struggles to throw the ball, I think this will help out Hawaii. Even if UNLV tries to throw, it'll make the conditions a little bit tougher. And I think with the weather, both teams are going to look to run the ball. And when that happens, I tend, depending upon the teams, to lean towards the underdog. So in this one, I would lean definitely towards Hawaii at home with the 10.5 points in this one. It would be if you were looking at taking a side.
Okay. I like that. I might actually put that in later. So no, I appreciate that insight. And again, shoot me a like, subscribe.
Follow you on Twitter.
Follow the Twitter. What was it?
Your Twitter? Under Mike 66.
Yeah. I mean,
at Under Mike 66.
So we want to keep this rolling. I think this is good content here. There's a few more games we wanted to touch on tonight. It's kind of been out there already.
It's just tough with when we're recording, but I would still mention the Akron Buffalo move.
Everyone's talking about 2 to 3 feet of snow in Buffalo this weekend, and let me just explain on that. There is a lake effect snow setup that looks pretty good. I mean, it's going to happen. There's a low pressure system that's going to be settled in up a little bit north of of Michigan in Canada there, and the winds are blowing counterclockwise there. So that's going to be shooting right over Lake Erie. And usually Buffalo is kind of on the low end of those snow totals, but where the low pressure is sitting, it's going to be coming up like from the west-southwest, which is right at the lake, right towards Buffalo. So the setup is there for a big snow event, but these bands, and again, this is the time of the year for lake effect snow. The lakes are not frozen yet. That helps the convection of the water comes up into the clouds, and it just creates the bands coming in, and usually Erie, a little bit northeast of Erie into New York is the main bands, but this one actually looks like it's going to affect Buffalo. And so we have the college game, the Buffalo Bulls
versus Akron.
versus Akron, and that's actually in Amherst, which is a little bit, I think it's like northeast of Buffalo. So again, an area that isn't that prone to heavy snow bands, but it does look like there is going to be some snow there on Saturday. That line actually dropped. It was, 53 and a half. And I did put a little on that last night at 53 and a half. And it is down to 48 right now. So that's a big drop in line.
Yeah, if based on what you've told me, so I looked a little bit at these teams, so it's tough because Akron, it makes me think this is going to be a running game, but it's very interesting. So Akron has struggled to run the ball. They've only hit 100 yards rushing 4 times this year, and they only average 4.4 yards per carry. But it's a big spread, 15 or 15 and a half. Buffalo has had more success if you look at it in terms of they've hit over 100 yards in all but 2. But Buffalo has really gotten gashed on the ground defending the run, which making me think that even though Akron is poor at running it, that they might have some success in this game. And with the conditions, and Akron lately has run it a little bit better than their average has shown for the entire year, this would be another one where I'd be taking the points.
Okay.
And with it, especially as how rough it might get in terms of the weather, I think this would be one where I would take the points and hope for a struggle and both teams to be looking to keep the ball on the ground.
It's one of those games too where we if we talk about this Monday, we're getting a huge advantage on the points. We're almost 5 points with the over under, but this lake effect snow band, they're very narrow. Depending how exactly the wind comes off the lake, how it sets up, it could be a matter of 5 miles where you get a foot for an inch or two. And, there is going to be a little wind that you also have to take that into consideration,
and these are shitty teams.
You don't really know what you're always going to get with that either. So there could be a lot of turnovers.
Odds of having a power arm. The Max has had some decent players, but neither of these quarterbacks are anything special. So, once in a while you get games, where the weather causes a ton of points, but sometimes they hit a brick wall. There's a ton of crazy points come up, and then nothing for a while. So, no, I think where it's currently at, you might say to wait and see what happens, but you just kind of wanted to point that out as a game, where in the future you'll be disseminating information out on Twitter. Yeah,
yes, absolutely. But at 48 right now, it's a tough call. Like, I don't know that it's going to drop a lot lower than that. Unless the forecast goes crazy. But I'm going to wait for this game until Saturday. I want to see where that band sets up. If that band sets up over Amherst, I'm going to pound it. And you can tell me if you want. Don't matter, but I'm going to pound it. Because it could be very significant. I don't even know if the people are going to be able to leave the game. Like, that's significant. Like, they might be stuck there. Travel could be very bad. And
good news is there'll probably be about 7 people in the stadium.
Yeah.
And they're all media. So, what game did you have next on your list? I had Boise, Wyoming, but if you're
that was up there. That was one I was looking at too. We got a lot of cold weather this week. It's a lot of cold games, and this is one you don't necessarily. It's not like, oh, it's 25 degrees. We got to play an under, and it's not like that. Not like that at all. But once it gets down to the teens and a little wind, we get wind chills maybe in the single digits. It's cold. I mean, it's definitely going to affect things a little bit.
Harder to catch a ball.
Harder to catch. The ball's going to be
rock hard.
A little bit harder to throw it. A little wind. This is in Laramie, Wyoming. It's a 7 p.m. start Eastern time. So what are they? 3 hour, like 4 or 5 o'clock start out there or something. 16 degrees is where I had it initially. The over-unders 44.5. That's one I'm looking at. So, I mean, what do you see with those teams?
So, just in general in this game, without even looking at the weather, the Boise State has a very elite rush defense. Their rush defense is very strong, and it's I think a terrible matchup for Wyoming because really the only thing Wyoming can do is run the ball, and Boise allows only 4 yards per rush, which is super low. For me, as soon as a team total comes out on the sites that I use, I'm hoping I can catch Wyoming under 15.5, and I would take it all the way down to 14.5 so you can get that 2 touchdown. You figure how they normally do it. So if it's 44.5 right now, the line's 14, they might make Boise State's total 29.5, and Wyoming's 14.5. Whatever they do, I like it under. Wyoming under 14.5 team total would be my first play here, and I would definitely consider Boise as well. Boise's come on strong after moving on from their longtime starting quarterback, and they're just the much better team here, and Wyoming cannot throw the ball at all, and Boise's run defense is great. So I just think combined with what you've said, I really like Wyoming under, team total under. I'll probably also play the game under as well, but I like the Wyoming team total under. It protects me a little bit against in case Boise, has one of those games where it's like a 41-7 type deal. But I still think that the game under is strong too.
Okay, good. No, I like that. That sounds good. I'm probably gonna. I think I'm gonna do that.
Sprinkle away.
Yeah, I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit there. So. There's a couple other games I'm looking at on the slate here. Northwestern at Purdue. It's a 12 o'clock start in West Lafayette. Looks like, you're going to have some wind there, 10 to 20 mile per hour. The apps are saying 16. It's going to be cold. It's going to be a little blustery. 47.5, 48, whatever it was at right now. I think Barstool had 48. The last I had checked, I don't know if that came down at all, but
let's see here. I'll check it.
That was one I'm leaning towards. That's going to be one of my plays, I think. So Northwestern, Purdue under 48. That was Barstool a couple hours ago.
What time is kickoff for that game?
12 p.m. Yeah. So that's one I'm looking at. That's going to be one of my plays for the video here. I mean,
I didn't have a ton of. I'm a Big Ten guy.
Yeah.
I'm a Penn State fan. I know a fair amount. So right now, looking into live lines, the total is anywhere from 47.5 to 48.
Okay, so that's about that's about where we were at a couple hours ago.
The spread is 19.5 or 19 to 20 in favor, obviously, of Purdue. Northwestern is really bad. They had that game where they kept it close against Ohio State.
Yeah, I feel like that's
more
almost
of a
like
product of the weather than anything.
Do you think this line is skewed a bit because of that game? Like that they kept it that close to Ohio State?
Purdue, I don't know. Purdue's not great either.
Yeah.
And they're coming off
And that was another weather game.
Yeah, the Purdue, and I'm just looking here at this one website. I just try to get some information off of here real quick. So Purdue, 5-4 this year, 2-2 in the division. Last week, or their last game, I should say, was against Illinois, and that was their biggest win of the year. So I think they honestly might be a little overvalued.
Okay.
in my opinion. They haven't laid this number to anybody. They played Florida Atlantic, and they were laying. Now, granted, it was at Florida. No, it was home against. They only laid 16.5 to Florida Atlantic,
Okay.
and now they're laying 19.5. I mean, granted, I guess if you count Indiana State, which I don't, since they're 1AA, they were a 37-point favorite, but I don't really factor in those games. But I don't know. I really probably would stay away from a side on this game.
Okay.
But again, I like with having what you're telling me a little bit about the weather and knowing that this Northwestern offense is not potent, and this is not a typical Purdue offense in terms of, ton of explosive plays.
Yeah.
I could see this game, being something like a 24-10, a 27-10, 34-10 type of game. I mean, Northwestern is just, they're 1-8 on the year.
Yeah, awful.
And people probably really only think about that one game they watched against
the 2
Ohio
weeks
State,
ago.
getting
That's
38, lose by 14.
I feel like that just stands out to some people.
But I mean,
like
you lost to Iowa by 20, lost to Maryland by 7, lost to Wisconsin by 35. They played another weather game against Penn State. I was at that game. Horrendous conditions, and it was a 17. Penn State only won 17-7, but Penn State also had 5 fumbles.
Yeah.
So and that again, that's another weather game. Their only win on the year is the first game of the year against Nebraska. So
Northwestern Penn State, look at that, under 48.5. They scored 24. Guess who had it? Under Mike.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I should start giving you live reports from Beaver Stadium.
That would be swell.
Last week.
All that I've done for him, I mean, I get a text like 3 days after the Penn State game this week.
Defense,
oh, well, there was weather issues. I was at the game. There was a squall coming in. I was en route to a wedding, so I wasn't really able to pay attention this weekend. I get texts after the game. Well, I should have texted you, Mike. It was under first half, under this, under that.
If you've been at Beaver Stadium, the service is terrible and there's a lot of people there. But yeah, as soon as I got out of lunch and I'm like, oh man, the temp just dropped 10 degrees, rain's starting. And I was like, oh yeah. And the site I was using had a first half total of 29. Man, I didn't have the max they only let me play was 200. I would have went 3 times that if I could have, because and it almost went over. That's the worst part.
Was it 21-0 first half?
It was 20.
Did they? I can't remember.
It was like 24-0 or something.
Yeah.
They could have scored a touchdown at the end. It would have went over, but the game itself went safely under as well.
Yeah.
And it was just bad. It was a lot of rain. There was some wind.
It's weird.
And it just isn't good conditions to throw the ball. I hit some player props on an offshore site because PA doesn't allow you to bet on players. But, I apologize for that. But I also have I probably the text would have went through anyway, probably. So
I might have got it.
All right, so that was our thoughts on Northwestern Purdue. What else you have here?
There was. I mean, I'm looking at that same region in the the upper Midwest. There is going to be some wind. It's going to be very cold. I'm just trying to pick my spots. I am going to take the Michigan State Indiana under. It was at 48 on DraftKings. There's going to be. It's a 12 o'clock start. It's going to be in the 20s. 15-mile-per-hour wind. I'm looking for. I think it's going to be under.
Here's my thoughts here. So interesting game, and not in terms of the game itself, betting them. So Indiana is awful, and they might be checked out at this point. They have no chance of making it to a bowl. They are dog shit. They're not good. Michigan State has underachieved, I guess, based on what they thought they were going to be, but they've won to put themselves in position to go to a bowl game. So right now they're 5-5. They have Indiana this week, Penn State next week. They're going to be underdogs against Penn State. So in their mind, if they're thinking, well, we probably, even though they're probably not thinking this, but they should be, they need to beat Indiana.
By a lot.
They just need to beat Indiana to go to a bowl game.
Yeah, okay.
They beat Indiana, they go to a bowl
right.
game. Is guaranteed. If they lose, they have to beat Penn State, which they're not going to be favored to. The other thing is at Michigan State, and it's senior day.
Okay.
I think motivation will be high for Michigan State based on those factors.
Okay.
Indiana could be completely checked out. Indiana has not shown much ability to run the ball, but I do think it does help them a little bit that Indiana's pass defense is horrendous. So if the conditions are a little off, that will tilt a little bit towards them.
Yeah.
But not even completely from. I really, based on the weather, plus the fact that I think only one team is going to show up. I like the game under, or you could look at taking again, like I said, for Indiana team under. But
what is the line? Like,
10.5.
So you think Michigan State? Probably.
So Michigan State's minus 10.5. There's a lot of. I could bet this could be one of those games where, like, let's say if you're planning to bet. If you play, let's take your standard unit, whatever it is, you could go a third on Michigan State, game under, and Indiana team under and spread out your risk a little bit.
Okay.
Or you could play them all for your standard unit if you like them. So 47.5 or 48 and 10.5, so that means the Indiana team total is probably going to be somewhere around, if I had to guess, how they normally do it, 18.5, 19 maybe. I just don't see them scoring that much. So again, I like Indiana team under. I do like the game under as well because Michigan State's no juggernaut itself. I could really see this game being something like 27-3. Somewhere around.
Just like not showing up, like
right.
I like it. I mean, it makes
Indiana's
sense.
Checked out, and I think Michigan State, while the season hasn't been what they expected, get this win senior day.
And if you're checked out, it's 24 degrees. There's a little wind. It's probably
really
like a 15-degree wind
yeah,
chill.
Right.
Who wants to play in that?
Right,
I don't
exactly.
want to play in that.
No. So that's my thought on. I kind of when I looked into that one, I kind of really liked what I saw there. So
good. Okay, that's good. Did we touch on the Whiskey Nebraska game?
We didn't touch on it.
Let's look at that one. That one actually has a little bit more wind forecast, and that was one that I'm thinking about. Wisconsin at Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, 12 p.m., so I guess 11 p.m. out there. It's going to be cold. Again, this cold snap is pretty much across the whole country right now. The wind looks like it's 15 to 20, and the over-under 40 and a half is what I saw on Monday. It did drop
39 and a half.
Dropped to 39 and a half. I am still thinking about it. I'm just curious what you have on those teams.
I honestly wrote down that Wisconsin would be my lean. I don't know if I would necessarily put it out there as a play, and just it's more of a. Even though Wisconsin is having a down year for them, it's still a winning season, and they are still able to run the ball. Nebraska can't do anything.
Okay.
And I just don't know. And these, like you said, with these conditions, I just think Wisconsin's big boys will push them around. I saw 13.5. If you're going to bet it, it has to be the 13.5. I wouldn't touch 14 or 14.5. But that would be my lean. Would be Wisconsin. Nebraska couldn't throw the ball whether it was 60 and sunny. So
I'm going to take the under.
Yeah,
I'm going to take. There you have it. I'm taking the under.
Mike's taking the under.
I'm taking the under. Wisconsin, Nebraska under 39.5. That's going to be one of my plays. Again, Northwestern and Purdue was an under 47.5. 48. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think what you can do, and you can follow. Mike, when you follow Mike on Twitter, you can put out a recap and put down like how many units or the way you're for each of the games. I'm trying to think here. Is there any other games you wanted a quick touch on? Or
I'm sorry. Did the Texas Tech Iowa State? Do we know when that game was? I was getting conflicting reports on.
They might have moved it around.
Yeah, I don't.
Due to the weather.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be really cold. Iowa. This is in Ames, Iowa. The temperature I have at 7 p.m. is 12 degrees.
I've got 7.
So 7 p.m. So I think it was.
This article is talking about how cold it's going to be.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be really cold. Yeah. And this one's, it's not super low. It was at 48 on DraftKings, 47.5 on FanDuel. I don't know. The winds by... So this was the thing. That I did get a conflicting report of when this game was.
It's at night.
It is at night?
Yep.
Okay, so it is confirmed at night. So if it was during the day, I don't think it was going to affect things anymore because it was going to be more wind but a higher temperature. So ultimately, I think it's going to be the same temperature either way. A little bit less wind at night, but it's going to get cold.
Yeah.
So
this has a game starting at 16 with a wind chill of 4.
Yeah.
And by the end of the
under.
game, it'll be a wind chill of -2.
Yep. I'm taking the under.
And for me, I play more sides than totals. I don't know
Just take the
why.
under.
Just take the under.
Yeah.
I would lean definitely Iowa State.
Under.
I don't think those Texas boys want any piece of this
Oh,
weather.
no. That's true.
Yeah.
Texas Tech, where they hail
Yeah.
from?
Lubbock.
Lubbock.
Yeah.
They Lubbock some warm weather.
Bad puns.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that's going to be a big one. As I said, Ames, Iowa, it's going to be cold, and it's at 48. That's, it's not 68 like I like, but it's still 48.
You win on 27-20.
Yeah, 27-20.
47-0. That's a victory.
47-0. So that's going to be another under for me. Again, I'll summarize it all on Twitter with I think we have about 4 or 5 unders for this week, and some great line.
Just some things that I don't
like,
follow the weather like you do. I don't understand it either. Like I can't look at it and figure it out. So I like getting that information, and then I can take what I want to do with it. The only other game I was looking at unrelated to weather, and everybody probably lost their shirt. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe they were the other way. Texas, Kansas this week.
Okay. There's
Texas,
gonna be a little wind there.
Texas is -9 or -9.5.
Okay.
And this is one of those lines where I think a lot of people are going to jump on Kansas. But I think the reason the line is floating up is just because on paper, Texas is just the superior squad. This is one where last week I think a lot of people were honestly probably thinking the same way, because Texas had a game last week where they were giving 7 points to TCU, and the common person was like, I'm going to play TCU. Yeah. They're undefeated. Well, and they won last week. TCU got it done straight up. And here we are again, Texas laying a number to a team that's more of a darling right now. Everybody's kind of like, whoa, Kansas is actually decent.
Yeah.
This is a spot where I would definitely look to take Texas. It's at 9.5 right now. Obviously, I would not touch this at 10. I would grab the 9 right now.
Grab the 9.
And that would be my one non-weather related.
That's great. Yeah, I forgot to mention we had a bonus pick.
Yeah, that's the bonus pick. Yeah,
we got the bonus pick. So
and I'll have them put all that on Twitter. That along with some of the other things we mentioned on here, and I'm excited to see how everything goes, and I wish you the best. And
all right,
I'll stay involved, I'm sure, in some perspective.
I hope to have you back in future weeks. I mean, it might turn in. Instead of a special guest, just a regular guest.
And we can get something set up. I think I was looking at some ways that we can be remote as well.
Yes,
so,
that's what I was curious about.
Yeah.
We are a little bit of ways apart, about 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, I've done a few different podcasts with some folks, and I'm going to talk to them to get us set up so we can both be in our own friendly confines. And, like we're in Pennsylvania, we're having some weather ourselves right now.
That's ironic, though, too. Like, it comes down.
I played the under tonight.
Yeah, you played the under. I played the over on how long it took him to get here, because he's always late. He's always late. But no, the weather, it was like, what was it? Snow, sleet, it's a little rain. Now it's raining. It's been everything. So it's kind of ironic that this happened on the day of our first broadcast. But here it is. So
hit up Under Mike at Under Mike 626. I'm at The Real SCAV. And your channel, obviously, subscribe so you get the updates right away. I think Twitter will be important just because that's where you can kind of get some of the real-time information, but the videos are fun.
We'll do the videos every Monday or Tuesday, and check for the updates. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Later.